Chapter 78. Wife? Hearing these two words, the people in the elevator couldn't help but feel weak in the legs. Coach Jean swallowed and pressed the close button with a pale face. The elevator door quickly closed. Seeing this, Li Xiqing vaguely felt that something was wrong and frowned. Clang! There was a sudden loud noise, accompanied by a woman's moan. Help! Su Qianxi's weak voice came into Li Xiqing's ears. It's her. Li Xiqing strode toward the place where the voice came from, feeling inexplicably uneasy. Su Qianxi noticed that the noises around her had quieted down, and her heart was slightly relaxed. Those people had left. They were really gone. However, her body hurt so much, the pain from her lower abdomen was far beyond what she could bear. It was so fierce and intense. She raised her hand weakly, trying to reach for her cell phone in her pocket. However, she could not muster any strength. The phone fell to the ground with a thud. The location was neither too far nor too close, just beside her waist. It was so close, but she felt that the phone was so far away that she could not touch it at all. The screen was still on. Through her blurred vision, she saw 3 words on it: Luihan. Qianqian? Luihan sounded a bit anxious. Don't be afraid. I have already called the police. Soon, Luihan said something else, but Su Qianxi could not hear it anymore. Was she going to die? Her body hurt so much. Li Xiqing kicked the door of the yoga room and immediately saw the thin figure lying in a pool of blood. At this moment, Su Qianxi's clothes were no longer covering her body. Only half of her Taoist robe was torn, revealing a large area of her porcelain skin. Just under her, there was a large pool of blood, shocking to see. Something seemed to collapse in Li Xiqing's heart. Driven by instinct, he strode over and squatted down to check on her. Su Qianxi. Su Qianxi's face was as pale as a piece of paper. Her breathing was short, her eyes were closed, and her eyelashes were trembling. Cold sweat had covered her body and face. Li Xiqing's eyes, which had always been as calm as a mirror, were caught off guard by the tragic scene in front of him and stirred up layers of waves. Su Qianxi, wake up. He helped her up and patted her face. She pressed her hands against her lower abdomen, and tears flowed down from the corners of her eyes. She was in so much pain that she cried softly. Her lips trembled silently, but it made people's hearts tremble. Su Qianxi was in so much pain that she almost fainted. Vaguely, there seemed to be a subtle sound in her ears, and a cold touch gently patted her face. He raised his eyelids with difficulty, and vaguely, he seemed to see that person. Xiqing. Su Qianxi's voice was as low as a mosquito. Don't be afraid, I'll take you to the hospital right away. His voice was as cold and hard as ever, but she didn't know if it was her imagination or if it was real, but she actually heard a bit of fear. He was afraid. What was he afraid of? Afraid that she would die? Su Qianxi was amused by her own thought, feeling sad and sad. What was there for him to be afraid of? No, he had never been afraid of anything. He had been like that in her previous lifetime, and this lifetime was no exception. If possible, she really wanted to see the weakness of this man with her own eyes. Chapter 79. The blood on her lower body stung his eyes and disturbed his heart. 2 words came out of his mind: miscarriage. Frightened, he took off his suit and covered her body with it. He bent down and carried her up. His eyes fell on the bright screen of her cell phone. Luihan. When she was most desperate and helpless, the first person she called was Luihan. Grabbing the cell phone on the ground, he rushed downstairs with her in his arms as fast as he could, his mind blank. He did not want to think. He did not want to think. Why did she call Luihan instead of him at this critical moment? Why did she get pregnant after taking birth control pills? However, his heart felt like it was being grabbed by a little ghost. It was so uncomfortable and suffocating. Going downstairs, he saw 2 police cars parked at the door, arresting the people he had just met in the elevator. However, one was missing. The leader wasn't there. The ambulance just arrived. Li Xiqing did not know how he got on the ambulance. After arriving at the hospital, the words of the female doctor echoed in his mind, "The fetus is less than a month old. The pregnant woman has lost too much blood and must have a uterine decontamination operation." "Who are you to her?" "I am her husband." "Okay, sign here and pay the fee. The pregnant woman cannot afford to wait." Li Xiqing signed in a daze and asked blankly, "She took birth control pills." "Why, birth control pills?" The female doctor's voice was a bit sharp. "Taking pills is the most unsafe. If the contraception is not successful, it is most likely to cause ectopic pregnancy and deformity. Will you die if you wear a condom? All men are the same." Seeing that Li Xiqing was still standing there blankly, he roared, "What are you doing standing there? Go and pay up." Li Xiqing nodded and quickly turned around to find the cashier. Qing Yu, Li Xiqing's assistant, who heard the news and came in a hurry, was petrified. What? Was this their tall and aloof CEO? Now, he was yelled at by the doctor, and he was not angry? The world was really crazy. Seeing him covered in blood, Qing Yu felt a bit sorry and went up to take the bill. "Boss, let me go." When Louis Han arrived at the hospital, he found Li Xiqing sitting in front of the emergency room in a daze. "Mr. Li," hearing this voice, Li Xiqing subconsciously looked over. When he saw him, his eyes suddenly froze, and the atmosphere around him suddenly became cold. Louis Han was shocked to see the blood on him. "Qianqian, she, inside." Li Xiqing leaned back in his chair, looking cold and elegant. "I caught those murderers, but one of them escaped. They said that the one who escaped was the mastermind." Li Xiqing's eyes lit up and he asked, "Where are they?" "The culprits who almost killed Su Qianxi." Louis Han was frightened by his imposing manner and said blankly, "In the police station." Before Li Xiqing could speak again, the door of the emergency room was opened. The operation was very successful. "Who is the patient's family?" Louis Han was about to go up and say something, but Li Xiqing was one step faster. "I am her husband." Chapter 80. Hearing that, Li Xiqing felt like something was stuck in his heart. Even she did not know that she was pregnant. Perhaps, even she did not think that the pill would work. Those bastards. After the doctor left, Li Xiqing and Louis Han walked into the ICU. Su Qianxi had fallen asleep. Her face was as pale as a piece of white paper, without any color. His hands were tightly gripping the sheets beneath him, and there was cold sweat on his forehead. It was just like a little white flower that had withered. Li Xiqing took a deep look at the girl on the bed, turned around, and left. Louis Han was dumbfounded. "Hey, where are you going?" However, no one responded. Coach Jean had never been as embarrassed as he was today. He heard that the other three had been taken to the police station and had not been dealt with yet. However, no one who had offended Li Xiqing had a good ending. Not a single one. Holding his duffel bag, Coach Jean looked around anxiously. Looking up at the clock, he saw it was already 10 p.m. Soon, the train was coming. As long as he got on the train, he could escape. His cell phone vibrated in his pocket. It was his home number. Coach Jean quickly answered, "Hello? Child's father, where are you?" The woman on the other side of the phone was crying. Next to her, there was the sound of a 3 or 4-year-old child crying. Coach Jin's heart skipped a beat. He suddenly had an idea. Li Xiqing was targeting his family. What are you doing?" "No." His wife screamed, sounding very sad. Coach Jin's legs softened and he almost knelt down. With red eyes, he yelled, "What's wrong? Did those bastards come for you?" However, it wasn't his wife's voice that responded. Instead, it was a cold and noble male voice. B*****. Hearing that voice, Coach Jin's heart almost jumped out of his throat. Unable to stand it any longer, he fell to the ground. "You killed my child. Now I'll let you have a taste of that. How about that?" A bone-chilling voice came through the microphone, making Coach Jean shiver uncontrollably. "Don't kill me. Dad, help me." The crying of the child made Coach Jean cry as well. "Li Sicheng, don't hurt my family. What's the point of threatening me with someone else's wife and child? Come and catch me if you dare." Li Sicheng did not seem to care at all. Glancing at the two people who were held by the bodyguards, they were safe and sound. "Whether it's a threat or not, it's up to you. I'll wait for you at your house." Coach Jean felt like he had lost all his strength. She did not expect him to be so despicable. But, so what? No matter how important his wife and children were, he could just marry another woman and have another child. He only had one life. Moreover, he hadn't even finished spending the 1 million yuan. It wasn't easy to get so much money, so he had to spend it back. Coach Jean gritted his teeth and finally got on the train. However, he didn't expect that he would be surrounded by several tall and strong men in black as soon as he got on the car and pushed off the car. Coach Jean was shocked. "What are you doing? Go." As he spoke, a cloth bag was placed over his head. A few people lifted him up and walked towards the train outside the station. Coach Jean struggled with all his might. After about half an hour, he was finally carried off the bus. Chapter 81. Coach Jin's face was so pale that he was sweating. Someone kicked him hard from behind, and he fell to his knees with a thud. He wanted to get up, but was held down by the bodyguards behind him. A chill suddenly rose from his back, penetrated his spine, and reached the tip of his heart. Looking at the man in front of him, Coach Jean could not help feeling weak in the knees. Li Sicheng's facial features were exquisite. He had not changed out of his blood-stained clothes. Although he was in a mess, he did not look disheveled at all. Under the dim light, he was sitting on the sofa with his legs crossed, leaning against the wall. With a cigarette between his long fingers, he squinted his eyes and looked down at Coach Jean. It was as if there was a bone-chilling icicle in his eyes, making Coach Jean shiver. His aura was so powerful. Coach Jean had seen a lot of masters in the boxing world, but none of them could make him feel like this. With just one look, he felt like he had nowhere to hide. Just a single glance was enough to make him want to flee. But before he could get up, he was ruthlessly kicked by the experts behind him, causing him to kneel on the ground. Then, his palm was firmly stepped on by a military boot. Ouch! The pain made him scream. Wait, military boot? Coach Jin's heart skipped a beat. He looked around and found that the people who brought him here all looked serious and had an extraordinary aura. They were not ordinary bodyguards or hooligans. They were soldiers. Coach Jean then realized what kind of person he had messed with. Suddenly looking up at Li Sicheng, he found that Li Sicheng's face was still calm. Sensing the fear in Li Sicheng's eyes, Coach Jean finally looked down. "Where did you catch him just now?" "Mr. Li, on the train." "On the train?" "Yes, he wanted to escape." Li Sicheng looked calm. Slowly blowing out a mouthful of smoke, he asked in a low voice, "You don't even want your wife and children?" Coach Jean was too scared to speak and lowered his head. "I'm asking you a question. You don't want your wife and children, do you?" A soldier next to him kicked him hard. His military boots stepped on his back, and Coach Jean screamed in pain. "It seems that you really don't want it." Li Sicheng put out the cigarette and narrowed his eyes. "But what should I do?" He stood up from the sofa, signaled the man on his back to move away, and helped Coach Jean up. Coach Jean breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed that this man was not as scary as he had imagined. His tense mood immediately relaxed. Panting slightly, he asked, "What do you mean?" Li Sicheng chuckled, and so did Coach Jean. However, a strong gust of wind swept over. With a scream, Coach Jean was almost blown away. The sudden punch startled everyone. Bang! His body hit the ground hard, and the sound of bones breaking came from Coach Jin's body. Li Sicheng's body was like a cheetah. He jumped up and his fists fell like thunder. Every time he lifted his fist, there was a patch of green and purple on the ground. The people around him were alarmed and quickly went up to push him away. What a joke. If they continued to fight like this, someone would die. Coach Jean was beaten half to death. He spat out a mouthful of blood along with a few bloody teeth. No one is allowed to touch my wife and children. Since you have touched them, don't even think about keeping your hands. Chapter 82. Coach Jin's face was covered in blood. He struggled to get up from the ground and begged weakly, "Mr. Li, please forgive me. I have a wife and children to support. This family needs me." Li Xiqing's eyes were cold. "You abandoned your family and children for $1 million. Why do you think I will believe you?" Coach Jean was even more shocked. From the beginning until now, he had never mentioned the $1 million. How did Li Xiqing know about it? Who asked you to do this to her? I don't know. Yesterday, someone suddenly called me and asked me to gang rape Su Qianxi. However, before he finished, Li Xiqing looked angry and clenched his fists. Coach Jean screamed in fear and stepped back as fast as he could. A man next to Li Xiqing pulled him back and said, "Go on. He asked me to gang rape Su Qianxi and gave me $5 million after it was done. He gave me $1 million as a deposit, but I don't know who it is. He knows my account number, my name, and everything I have done before. I can't not do it." Coach Jean was a man, but he begged and cried. A woman? A man. He sounds young, maybe in his 20s or 30s. When she walked in, all the eyes in the room fell on her. Even though she was a smart and capable assistant, Qingyu still felt a little scared. Under pressure, she handed the information to Li Xiqing and said, "I found it. The account that transferred $1 million to Jin Xiong is in a small city in T province, more than 20 hours' drive from Kingstown. However, the number in his call records shows that the owner of the phone is a blind man in his 70s or 80s. His phone was stolen yesterday, but it came back inexplicably today." Coach Jin's hair stood on end. Not only did he provoke such a big shot in one day, but he was also involved in such a terrible thing. How unlucky could he be in his previous life? Ha! Li Xiqing laughed when he heard this. It was just that this laughter was extremely cold, extremely cold. He looked up and stared at Coach Jean with his sharp eyes. He asked word by word, "So, you can't find any clues?" He stared at Coach Jean, but his words were directed at Qingyu. Qingyu felt a bit scared. Although she had long been used to her boss's mood swings, it was the first time she had faced him with such extreme emotions. Not really. There will be a breakthrough, but not yet. Seeing Li Xiqing walking to Coach Jean, Qingyu's voice became lower and lower. Li Xiqing looked down at him and said word by word, "Have you ever felt despair?" What? Bring him to the port. I'll sail the boat myself. The tough guy next to Li Xiqing shuddered and hesitated. "Mr. Li, are we really going to do this? What do you think?" Li Xiqing's voice was calm, but his words were full of killing intent. "Yes." Half an hour later, in a mysterious private sea. Coach Jean was tied to his waist by a rope, and the other end of the rope was tied to the stern of the yacht. Li Xiqing threw a piece of fresh meat into the sea. Soon, the shark's dorsal fin appeared on the calm sea. Coach Jin's heart sank as he recalled what Li Xiqing had just said. "Have you ever felt despair?" Chapter 83. Her pale and powerless hands clutched the sheets beneath her tightly. Su Qianxi was soaked in cold sweat. There seemed to be waves of pain coming from his lower abdomen. Something was quietly slipping away, soundless. This feeling made her feel both familiar and hopeless. In his ears, it was as if every single sentence everyone had said back then was still echoing. "Bitch, you fell down the stairs and blamed it on Menjiang? Do you think people will believe that? What a sin. The 2-month-old baby already has a heartbeat, and she has such a mother. Su Qianxi, I did not expect you to be so vicious. In order to frame Menjiang, you even gave up your own baby." Everyone pointed at her and looked at her with disdain and disgust. Grandpa was disappointed in her, her mother-in-law hated her, and even her father-in-law gave her the cold shoulder. The Su family came to scold her every day. No one knew that it was Tang Menjing who pushed her down. No one believed that it was Tang Menjing who pushed her down. No one, you deserve it. You deserve it. Brother Siqing is mine. He's mine. Tang Menjing smiled proudly. Standing in the abandoned warehouse, holding Li Siqing's arm, she was in a coma. Suddenly, Li Siqing opened his eyes, looked at Su Qianxi, and said coldly, "Disgusting. Disgusting, disgusting, Su Qianxi, you are so disgusting." Su Qianxi's heart was squeezed. Staring at the couple, she subconsciously wanted to run away. However, she couldn't move and couldn't make a sound. She watched as more and more people surrounded her. Scolding, disdain, all the voices gathered together and said one word in unison: disgusting, 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 disgusting. No, it's not me, not me. Li Siqing was sleeping on the edge of the bed when he suddenly heard a weak cry. Desperate and helpless. He reached out and grabbed her waving little hands, but as soon as she touched those hands, it was like grasping a life-saving straw, and she held them tightly in her palms. It's okay, it's okay. Li Siqing held her hands and comforted her. His other hand reached out to wipe the sweat off her forehead. His movements were unbelievably gentle. Even he didn't think that his natural movements could be so smooth. Su Qianxi's face was full of tears. Her eyelids trembled a few times before she opened them. At a glance, he saw Li Siqing's big hand. There were some calluses on his rough palms. The surrounding light was a little dim. Judging from the time, it was about 4 or 5 in the morning. The hand was moved away, revealing the cold and determined face behind it. The lights in the room were not turned on, and the light was dim and weak. But this man, just by sitting there, was enough to steal all of her attention. "You're awake?" Li Siqing saw her spacing out. "Do you want some water?" She looked at him, a bit dazed. A familiar face, a familiar coldness. However, the tone and expression were unfamiliar. Who was this? Li Siqing? She must be dreaming. How could he speak to her so gently? Moreover, how could he be by her side at this time? Seeing that she did not respond, he got her a glass of warm water and put it on the table. Chapter 84. Su Qianxi looked at him dumbfoundedly, like a puppet. He frowned, wondering if she had lost her mind. The person in front of him suddenly reached out a hand and touched his face. The cool touch, the delicate and smooth skin, and the exquisite features were right in front of her. So real, so close, it was real, she was not dreaming. It was really Li Siqing. However, didn't he hate her? Didn't he disgust her? Why? Su Qianxi was dazed and subconsciously touched her lower abdomen. Li Siqing saw her movement and frowned. Who told you? Didn't they agree not to tell her? Who was so talkative? Drink water. He sat on the edge of the bed and helped her up. His tone was firm. Su Qianxi took the warm water and took 2 sips. However, her heart was trembling more and more. It was incredibly sour and painful. Tears, like the collapse of glands falling down. He took the cup in her hand and held her in his arms. At the moment she leaned in, he clearly felt that something was quietly tightening and expanding in his heart. Su Qianxi still could not help crying on his chest. Her shoulders trembling, she put her hands on his shoulders and hugged him tightly. "Child, our child is gone." His heart skipping a beat, he tightened his arms around her. Gently patting her back, he whispered, "Don't cry. We are still young. We can have another child." Su Qianxi heard this and cried even harder. It was true that they were young, but it was impossible for them to be young again. Never again, he hated her so much. How could he have a child with her? He wanted her to stay away from him so that he could be with Tang Menjing. However, at this moment, she really wanted to believe it. She wanted to believe that he was really hugging her, and not just pretending to comfort her. She wanted to believe that he did not hate her. So be it, let time stop at this moment. Li Xiqing patted her back gently, his mind in a mess. Don't cry. Su Qianxi could not hold back her tears, but she suppressed her crying a little. Looking up, she looked at his handsome profile. He also looked down at her and said coldly, "You won't look pretty if you keep crying. Your eyes are swollen." "You said I'm pretty?" Su Qianxi was dazed. Seeing that she really stopped crying, he felt a bit relieved and nodded. Okay. Su Qianxi felt like she had seen a ghost, looking at him. He had never said that he was good-looking. The word that he used to praise her the most was probably ugly. Was she really dreaming? There was not a single ray of light in the dim surroundings. Sure enough, no matter how real it felt, it was just a dream. She actually, naively thought that it was really Li Xiqing, really him. Chuckling bitterly, he felt a little regretful. However, since it was a dream, could she do what she had always wanted to do but did not dare to do? She hugged his waist tightly and whispered, "Li Xiqing." Su Qianxi looked up, put her other hand on his head, and pressed him down. Chapter 85. Her pink lips were as sweet as jelly. As soon as he touched them, Li Xiqing felt like he had been electrocuted. His heart raced uncontrollably. It was not the first time. He had kissed her several times before. But why didn't he feel like this the past few times? Throbbing, seductive, Li Xiqing's eyes suddenly darkened, and his arms holding her slightly tightened. She did not notice his stiffness. Closing her eyes, she stuck out her tongue and licked his lips. Gently, softly, timidly, and contented. That was enough. That was enough. That was enough. She would pretend that it was real. She did not know that the man in front of her was so aroused that he simply took the initiative. Su Qianxi was shocked and looked at him blankly. He moved. Freeze. Stop right there. However, it did not work. Li Xiqing clamped her with both hands and crazily kissed her. His long tongue hooked and kissed her, penetrating her lips and teeth easily. With a bit of thirst and desire, he mercilessly conquered her. Su Qianxi's eyes widened, but her heartbeat sped up. A lot, was this real? Wasn't this a dream? God, she actually kissed him. However, why was he not angry? Why was he kissing her? Su Qianxi had a crazy guess in her mind, but she quickly denied it. It's impossible. Noticing her absent-mindedness, Li Xiqing's eyes darkened. He let go of her and whispered, "Close your eyes." His voice was cold and brooding. Su Qianxi was dumbfounded. Being yelled at like that, she suddenly blushed. It was actually real. He was really real. Was it not a dream? No way. She was not dreaming, was she? Su Qianxi's heart trembled, and she could not believe it. Her breathing became more rapid, and her eyes became redder. Her hands slowly moved up, climbing up his back, climbing up his hands. Feeling her obedience, Li Xiqing felt a desire from his tailbone to his lower abdomen and the bottom of his heart. I want her. Li Xiqing was startled by his crazy idea. Subconsciously, he warned himself to retreat, but he could not stop. Cough, cough. The sudden cough made Su Qianxi's body stiffen, and she immediately pushed him away. Turning around, Su Qianxi saw Qin Shuhua standing at the door with a mischievous smile on her face. Su Qianxi is still very weak. Kid, are you that impatient? Although she knew that Su Qianxi was joking, she still couldn't help blushing and quietly looked up at him. She found that his expression was still the same, but there was an obvious blush on his face. Li Xiqing exhaled and stood up abruptly. Su Qianxi clearly saw the dried blood on his body and was a bit dazed. I'm going to work. Mom, I'll leave Qianxi to you. Qin Shuhua smiled suggestively and nodded. Go ahead. I will return you a beautiful wife. Li Xiqing's face was even redder, and he walked faster out of the ward. Chapter 86. Hearing that voice, Su Qianxi turned her head and looked at the door of the ward. Qin Shuhua reached out and turned on the light in the ward. Su Qianxi immediately saw the blue figure standing at the door of the ward. He seemed a little timid and did not dare to come in. There was an awkward smile on his face, and his eyes were slightly red. She looked like she had been wronged. How enviable. Qin Shuhua heard that and felt it was a pity. She had also thought that Tang Menjing would be her daughter-in-law. Unfortunately, fate made fools of her. Su Qianxi heard that and knew that Qin Shuhua was deliberately saying that to her mother-in-law. If she guessed correctly, Qin Shuhua should be thinking about a daughter-in-law again. In her previous lifetime, Qin Shuhua was the one who compared them the most. She would always say, Menjing did a great job today. She helped Xiqing get a big deal and did a great job. Or, she would say, Xiqing is such a lonely kid. It would be great if he could have a good wife. All in all, Tang Menjing could not marry Li Xiqing, which had become a sore point in Qin Shuhua's heart. Every time she saw Tang Menjing, she could not help but sigh. Knowing Tang Menjing's purpose, if it were the old Su Qianxi, she would definitely respond proudly and say something that would make Tang Menjing even more jealous. But now, she was still the same. Su Qianxi responded quietly, smiled and said, "You will meet him in the future. You are not young anymore. A girl as excellent as you must have a lot of good men chasing after you. You must be tired of picking, right? Unlike me, who can only follow the orders of my parents and do not even have a chance to choose." There was a hint of regret in her voice. However, Tang Menjing gritted her teeth. What did she mean by picking the right men? What did she mean by not even having a chance to choose? The best one had been snatched away by her, and the rest of the men had become dull and lackluster. This Su Qianxi was clearly showing off. Qin Shuhua took out the tonic soup she had brought and gave Su Qianxi a reproachful look. What do you mean by not even having a choice? Isn't my son good enough? Of course, Xiqing is the best. Su Qianxi's smile widened, her face full of happiness. Xiqing is the best man, right, Menjing? Tang Menjing forced a smile and said, yes. However, before she finished, Su Qianxi turned her head and looked at the soup in Qin Shuhua's hand. She exclaimed in surprise, "It smells so good. Lu Sa's cooking is so good." Su Qianxi's nose was very sharp, and she could tell that it was made by Qin Shuhua. In his previous life, he was fortunate enough to have tasted it a few times. This time, he could recognize it immediately. But in this life, she had never tasted it. Hearing this, Qin Shuhua was elated. Lu Sa doesn't come to work so early. I made this for you. Come, drink it. Su Qianxi was flattered and quickly took it. Thank you, Mom. She took a sip and gave a thumbs up. It smells so good. I didn't know you were so good at cooking. Qin Shuhua was in a good mood and smiled from ear to ear. She began to talk about how she had conquered generally with her cooking when she was young. Su Qianxi listened with great interest and asked questions from time to time. However, Tang Menjing was completely ignored. Su Qianxi clenched her fists tightly. Chapter 87. Su Qianxi sensed Tang Menjing's resentful eyes and looked over. The moment Su Qianxi looked over, the jealousy in Tang Menjing's eyes suddenly disappeared, replaced by a gentle smile. "Heh, he's really flexible. Seeing that you are fine, I am relieved. Su Qianxi, I will come to see you later. Today is my first day as Brother Xiqing's secretary. I have to go to work now." Li Xiqing's secretary? In her previous life, Su Qianxi had used this identity to, thoughtfully, help Su Qianxi solve her sexual problems, considerately, reminded her how to get Li Xiqing back, and revealed his whereabouts so that Su Qianxi could catch him in the act. At first, Su Qianxi believed her a few times, but every time, she got Li Xiqing's more disgusted look. Then, Li Xiqing became more and more reluctant to see her and go home. After that, Tang Menjing naturally accompanied Li Xiqing to all kinds of occasions. Everyone envied her, thinking that she was the rightful Mrs. Li. Now, secretary? Su Qianxi's heart sank, but she looked surprised. You became his secretary? Tang Menjing nodded and smiled. Yes. That's great. His stomach is not good, and he needs to eat the food I cook every day to sleep. You have to tell him to eat more in the future. Hell, she cooked it for him once. However, when Tang Menjing heard that, the smile on her face froze. I did not know that you can cook. No, but Li Xiqing said that as long as I cook, everything tastes good. Then she lowered her head and looked shy. Qin Shuhua was relieved. It seemed that the couple had a good relationship. Although she liked Tang Menjing more, her son would not say that in front of Tang Menjing. With a mischievous look in his eyes, he teased, "Io, you're shy." Su Qianxi blushed even more and lowered her head. However, she did not forget to glance at Tang Menjing. Tang Menjing did not look very good. She said that she was going to be late for work and left in a hurry. However, the moment she walked out of the ward, she clenched her fists and gritted her teeth. Su Qianxi, just you wait. You will not be happy for long. This time, I took your child. Next time, I will take your man. Qin Shuhua stayed with Su Qianxi for a while. When the nurse came to give her an 4 drip, she left. She slept until the afternoon. When she opened her eyes, she saw someone sitting next to her. Unprepared, Su Qianxi was startled. However, when she saw that it was Li Xiqing, she was relieved. Li Xiqing stopped typing and turned to look at her. Did I disturb you? She shook her head and was about to get out of bed. But as soon as he moved, he felt dizzy and almost fell down. Li Xiqing quickly raised his hand and held her up. One of his strong hands was on her arm, and the other was on her waist. She could feel the heat radiating from his palm. She squirmed uncomfortably and said, I need to go to the bathroom. All right, let's go. Hearing that, Su Qianxi was a bit scared. What do you mean let's go? Could it be that he wanted to bring her there? Oh, no way. Chapter 88. Her heart skipping a beat, she blushed and reached out to slap his hand away. She quickly said, No. No need. I can go by myself. Let go of me. Don't be shy. I've seen every part of your body. As he spoke, he carried her off the bed. She was startled and asked blankly, What? What are you doing? It was that same expression again. It was like a frightened deer. Li Xiqing's heart softened slightly. His expression was still cold as he said seriously, What are you afraid of? I won't do anything to you. Su Qianxi blushed even more. Lowering her head, she stammered, You. Li Xiqing felt a bit helpless. In his dark eyes, there were stars twinkling. He seemed to be in a good mood. Didn't you say you wanted to go to the bathroom? Then he carried Su Qianxi to the bathroom. Su Qianxi was very shocked. She did not expect that he would take her to the bathroom, but it was so embarrassing. Ouch! At the door of the bathroom, he did not intend to stop. Su Qianxi quickly stopped him. Wait, you can put me down. I can still go to the bathroom. You can go first, okay? He did not insist. Su Qianxi blushed and walked into the bathroom, looking at him for the last time. However, she saw that there seemed to be a faint smile on his face. He smiled? What the hell, did she see a ghost? A person like Li Xiqing could smile? However, it was just a glimpse. When Su Qianxi looked at him again, the smile in his eyes had disappeared, as if it had never been there. Seeing that she was still looking at him, he arched an eyebrow and asked, Do you need help? Su Qianxi felt a buzz and blushed. She quickly said, No. The toilet door was slammed shut and locked in one smooth motion. Li Xiqing curled his lips and felt relaxed. He turned around and walked out. A few minutes later, Su Qianxi walked out holding the wall, not daring to look at him. "Hey, Qianqian, why are you up?" A surprised voice came, bright and cheerful. Turning around, he saw Luihan. "The doctor said that you need to rest and lie down properly." Putting down the flowers and fruit in his hand, Luihan came up to help her to the bed with a look of disapproval. Seeing him, she was a bit surprised and subconsciously looked at Li Xiqing. Li Xiqing's expression was still cold and calm. The moment Luihan came in, his eyebrows slightly frowned, and his eyes fell on Su Qianxi. In an instant, their eyes met. Su Qianxi's eyes were filled with anxiety. "Ha! I understand now." Putting away his computer, he said, "I still have something to do in the company. I'll leave it to you." Hearing that, Luihan looked disgusted. "Hey, how can you squeeze people like this? This is your wife." "But, I love you." Li Xiqing's eyes became cold. Without a word, he turned and walked out the door without a moment's hesitation. Luihan felt strange. Turning around, he found that Su Qianxi also looked regretful and unhappy. "What's wrong? Did I come at the wrong time?" Chapter 89. Su Qianxi heard Luihan's voice and shook her head. "Why are you here? Don't you feel ashamed? You scared me to death yesterday, you know. You suddenly called me and made such a big commotion. When I called the police and took you to the martial arts club, you had already been carried out by Li Xiqing, covered in blood." However, he immediately shut his mouth with a regretful look on his face. Su Qianxi felt a little funny. "I already know. Don't hide it from me." Luihan was dazed and found her eyes were red and a little swollen. He said angrily, "How could you mess with such people? Those guys are not good people at first glance. And they are actually drug traffickers and smugglers. The worst thing is that one person escaped. Fortunately, someone found him at the seaside. It is said that he was trying to smuggle a huge sum of money and was bitten by a shark. Half of his leg is gone. It's so terrible." "Dead?" "Not yet. He is barely alive, but this kind of scum should be treated like this. Let him live a life worse than death. Leaving his wife and children to smuggle in the middle of the night, he deserves it." "What about the others? How can they be given a light sentence for smuggling and drug trafficking? It is estimated that they will be sentenced to at least 10 years. How could it be? Those people were usually fooling around in the martial arts club. How could they secretly do this kind of thing? Don't judge a book by its cover." However, Su Qianxi's intuition might have something to do with Li Xiqing. Her intuition was usually more accurate. Maybe, it was really him. If it was 5 years later, Li Xiqing would definitely have such strength, but now? She was not sure. This man's background was too deep. But if it was really him, what was the reason for him to do this? Su Qianxi frowned and did not think much about it. She saw a red shadow at the door of the ward. "Lily?" Su Qianxi's voice was a bit surprised. "She had a good impression of you, Lily." Yu Lily walked in with a sweet smile. However, when she walked further in and saw Luihan, the smile on her face suddenly froze. Luihan also turned his head and looked at her, slightly surprised. "Hey, isn't this our second campus belle, the beauty Yu Lily?" The so-called second did not mean the first. Hearing Luihan's sarcasm, Yu Lily's eyes narrowed and her hand holding the gift slightly tightened. "It's him." But soon, Yu Lily's eyes widened, and she hurriedly walked toward him, retorting in a shrill voice, "Isn't this our great scholar Lu? I heard that you started your own business. Have you gone bankrupt?" Luihan said, "Damn, why are you looking forward to this kind of thing? Can't you say something nice?" "No." Putting the tonics on the table at the head of Su Qianxi's bed, Yu Lily glanced at Su Qianxi's face and said, "Not bad. I thought you were going to die, so I came here to see you make a fool of yourself." Yu Qianxi Yu Changli said, Yiqian, I said, you are so. You think you can't say it. You. Qian said. Said you. You. Qi. You Qio. You. T, Lily you said, you. You not, you. Yu Lily was arrogant, and Louis Han was a famous scholar. A few years ago, it was not a secret that she liked Louis Han. Chapter 90. Although she sounded disgusted, Su Qianxi clearly saw the nervousness on Yu Lily's face. She seemed to like Louis Han. However, what about O Ming? Su Qianxi suddenly remembered the legend of Yu Lily's real death in her previous lifetime. She was strangled to death by O Ming in bed, and the reason was unknown. But there were always rumors that Yu Lily had an affair and used O Ming's money to support that man. And in her previous lifetime, Louis Han also became an important figure in Kingstown from nothing. Without a strong financial background, Louis Han could not have developed so fast. Combined with their conversation just now, could it be? Su Qianxi was shocked by her own thoughts. When she looked at Yu Lily and Louis Han, her gaze was a little different. If it was really because of this, it was too terrible. Yu Lily noticed Su Qianxi's slightly strange look, and her heart skipped a beat. She couldn't help being nervous. Could it be that she had seen through something? Suppressing the nervousness in her heart, Yu Lily turned to sit on Su Qianxi's bed and began to gossip with her. From time to time, Louis Han would also interject a few words, but he was always blocked by Yu Lily. They were really a quarrelsome couple. However, Su Qianxi felt more and more uneasy. After thinking about it, she asked Louis Han to leave first and let Yu Lily stay. After Louis Han left, Yu Lily was obviously a lot more relaxed and curiously turned her head. You have something to say to me? Do you know what is the most unbearable thing for a man? Huh? Yu Lily obviously did not understand what she meant. Thinking about another man for your own woman. Hearing that, Yu Lily's face was slightly pale. What did O Ming say to you? No, I have never seen O Ming, but I can see that your feelings for Louis Han have not changed. Yu Lily's face was even paler. Was she so obvious? Obviously, she had tried so hard to hide it. How could she see it? Su Qianxi was not very sure, but seeing Li Xiqing's face, her thoughts were confirmed. You can feel how O Ming treats you. He is Li Xiqing's brother, so his temper must be very bad. Don't get on his bad side. When he goes crazy, I'm afraid you can't handle it. For example, repeating the mistakes of his previous life. Yu Lily didn't know how much of a shock her words had caused her. As an outsider, Su Qianxi actually saw it more clearly than him. However, since she followed Louis Han, she knew that she was no longer qualified to think more. She knew. She knew everything. But she couldn't forget Louis Han. The reason why she agreed to attend the class reunion was that she wanted to see him. She only wanted to see him once, that was all. Yu Lily's heart ached, and her eyes reddened. Su Qianxi felt some sympathy, but it was better to wake her up now than to let her do stupid things in the future and lose her life in vain. Thank you, Qianxi. I got it. O Ming treats me very well. I'm not that stupid to throw away such a golden coattail. Chapter 91. The two women in the room were startled and turned their heads to look. O Ming was wearing a tight-fitting casual suit, which made him look reserved and low-key. His excessively fair face looked a little sinister. He was a very dazzling man, but at the same time, very dangerous. Unlike Li Xiqing's coldness, O Ming seemed to be smiling, but he clearly showed his emotions. He was unhappy. When Yu Lily saw him, her face was obviously a little unnatural. She grabbed her hands and seemed a little nervous. Just now, how much did he hear? Was it just a golden thigh? Or more? O Ming walked into the ward and glanced at Yu Lily unintentionally. He naturally walked over and put his arm around her shoulder. Are you saying bad things about me? Oh Ming lowered his head and whispered in Yu Lily's ear. His voice was very low, with a hint of danger. Yu Lily's body was slightly stiff, and then she shook her head again and again. Then what are you nervous about? I didn't, baby, you are really not good at lying. Yu Lily's heart skipped a beat, and she was even more confused about him. How much did he hear? Su Qianxi's heart was also beating like a drum. She tried to divert his attention and said, Are you O Ming? O Ming looked away from Yu Lily and looked at Su Qianxi. The evil smile on his face disappeared, and he cast a curious look at Su Qianxi. You still remember me? When you got married, I just went through the motions. Don't tell me you can't forget me? Su Qianxi was stunned. She probably didn't expect O Ming to be so indecent. Suddenly, O Ming leaned slightly closer and asked, I heard that you want to divorce that guy? Su Qianxi was even more stunned. How did this guy know? Seeing her expression, O Ming smiled. It seems that I guessed right. Well, good. Pfft. Su Qianxi laughed. What happened to being a brother and a good friend? Why could this guy still say such sarcastic words when Li Xiqing was divorced? However, when O Ming's voice fell, an unknown object flew over his head. O Ming was stunned. He turned his head angrily and yelled, Who? When he turned around, he saw a face that was as calm as a 10,000-year-old iceberg. When O Ming saw Li Xiqing, the anger on his face immediately disappeared. Su Qianxi noticed that his aura had weakened. It's you. Li Xiqing ignored him and walked in with the nutritious food in his hand. Seeing the smile on Su Qianxi's face, he gazed at her and said in a deep voice, You look much better. Noticing his deep gaze, the smile on Su Qianxi's face faded, and she suddenly felt a bit scared. This man seems to be unhappy. Was it because of the divorce? O Ming looked down and saw the logo on the lunchbox in his hand. He crossed his arms and teased, I don't know who was the one who denied it the night before yesterday, but now you actually went so far to buy food. Isn't this a slap in the face? Scram. You're angry because you've been stepped on. I got the Su family village's land. The smile on O Ming's face immediately disappeared. His eyes widened in disbelief. Really? You don't want to? Yes. Scram. Scram. Scram right now. With that, he pulled Yu Lily out of the ward. It was the first time that Yu Lily had seen such a timid O Ming. She couldn't help but look at Li Xiqing, but she was caught off guard. Instantly, she felt cold. Chapter 92. After getting rid of the uninvited guest, Li Xiqing took out all the lunch boxes. He pushed them to Su Qianxi and said, Let's eat. Su Qianxi glanced at the dishes in front of her. They were all bland soups. She could tell from the packaging that they were not cheap, but wolfberry, red dates, ginseng, and angelica were all very nutritious. However, all the flavors were mixed together, making Su Qianxi frown. You don't like it? Su Qianxi was speechless. Who would like to eat this? Seeing her unbearable expression, Li Xiqing continued, Even if you don't like it, you have to eat it. Grandpa told you to. Grandpa? Yes, Li Xiqing responded coldly. Where is Grandpa? Captain Li loved her very much. How could he not come when she was in such a big trouble? Grandpa went to Province G a few days ago. He just called me and told me to come back tomorrow. No wonder. She knew it was impossible for this guy to buy these things for her. If it was Grandpa's order, then it was a different story. Oh. Su Qianxi felt a bit regretful and responded. The atmosphere suddenly became awkward. So awkward, although they were husband and wife, they were not that close. She felt more comfortable with Lu Yihan than with Li Xiqing. Li Xiqing also noticed her awkwardness and said again, Let's eat. Okay, I know. Just leave it. Su Qianxi leaned against the bed. Sensing Li Xiqing's cold gaze, she felt that what she said was inappropriate, so she added, I will eat. Don't you have something to do at the company? You can go back first. Li Xiqing glanced at the light food on the table and slightly lowered his hand. He said firmly, Grandpa said that I should watch you finish eating with my own eyes. Then just tell Grandpa that I've finished eating. I'll eat later. Li Xiqing's eyes became darker and he said quietly, Do you think I am easy to fool, or do you think Grandpa is easy to fool? What did he mean? Was he really going to watch her finish eating? Well, it was awful. She did not want to eat it. She lost her appetite when she smelled it. Su Qianxi felt wronged. Just cooperate with me and tell Grandpa that I have finished eating, Mr. Li. Mr. Li? Mr. Li again? Such a distant form of address seemed to be separated by layers of mountains, distant to the point of being untouchable. Li Xiqing was not very happy. Did this woman have to distance herself from him? You didn't call me that before. Didn't she call him that before? Didn't she call him Mr. Li before? Besides, he never hated it when she called his name, did he? Su Qianxi felt that this man was more and more mysterious. She could not figure out what he was thinking at all. A man's heart is like a needle at the bottom of the sea. Su Qianxi thought to herself. Looking up, she timidly asked, Then, what should I call you? With a cold face, Li Xiqing's expression did not change, but his eyes became colder. He said coldly, Whatever. Let's eat. With a bitter face, she said, Grandpa doesn't know anyway. Just leave it here. I will eat later. I have no appetite now. Chapter 93. Glancing at her, Li Xiqing picked up a small bowl with his slender fingers, slowly scooped some soup, and handed it to her. Su Qianxi's biggest fear in her life was taking medicine. Whether it was Chinese medicine or Western medicine, she was in great pain. Looking at the light herbal diet, he immediately shook his head. You should go. Didn't you say you have something important to do? Eat. Su Qianxi forced herself to take a sip and suddenly found it was not that bad. Looking up at Li Xiqing, she found that he was staring at her with a deep look. Her heart skipping a beat, she quickly grabbed the bowl and said, I'll drink it myself. You should go. You want me to go? Yes. Su Qianxi nodded without hesitation. If he did not go, how could she throw away the food? However, seeing his deep gaze, she immediately changed her mind. You are so busy at the company, and you still have to come to see me. You must be too busy. I'm just being considerate. Oh, Li Xiqing had a, I see, look on his face. When you finish, I will go. No way. I can't finish it. There's too much here. It will take a long time to finish. It's okay. Take your time. You're so busy. You should go first. You don't want to eat? Well. Su Qianxi was seen through and blushed. It's terrible. Herbal diet is good for the body. Then go somewhere else. What do you want to eat? What are you going to buy? I'll order takeout. Su Qianxi felt a bit regretful. She thought he was going to buy food for her. Forget it. That will take a long time. I'll just eat. Su Qianxi looked at the food, frowned, and drank a big bowl of soup. After picking some dishes, there was still 3/4 of the food left. Are you full? No. I can't eat anymore. Su Qianxi blinked pitifully, looking like a wife who had been abused. Qianqian, look what I brought for you. Luihan's voice came in, but he soon paused. Hey, Mr. Li is here too. Luihan said, just in time. Let's eat together. I made a lot of food that Qianqian likes. Qianqian? How affectionate. Moreover, even he didn't know what his wife liked to eat, so how could this pretty boy know so well? Luihan opened the lid, and Li Xiqing's eyes darkened. Was that a homemade lunchbox? Su Qianxi's eyes immediately lit up. Smelling the air, she almost drooled. Shredded chicken, sweet and sour pork ribs, Your nose is so sensitive. Louis Han came over and saw that she had only eaten a little. He looked sympathetic. No wonder, Li Xiqing looked at the plates he took out. There were some home-cooked dishes on them. Although they were simple, they looked and smelled good. It smells so good. Chef Lu's culinary skills are getting better and better. That's right. Do you think I've always been like you? It was just a joke, but it sounded different to Li Xiqing's ears. They were flirting in front of him. Li Xiqing's eyes darkened. The volcano in his heart was on the verge of erupting. Thinking of the divorce agreement he had signed, he was even more furious, but it was stuck in his heart. He had signed the agreement and decided to let them be, hadn't he? Chapter 94. Not qualified. Louis Han's previous understanding of Li Xiqing was only based on rumors. Now feeling the obvious coldness around him, he couldn't help but be a bit surprised. He handed Li Xiqing a bowl and chopsticks. You haven't eaten yet, right? Let's eat together. Seeing the bright smile on his face, Li Xiqing suddenly felt suffocated. Glancing at him, he stood up and walked toward the door of the ward. No response was Li Xiqing's unique response. Louis Han was secretly shocked. Your husband's temper is a bit strange. Su Qianxi smiled and did not answer. She quickly changed the topic. However, what neither of them noticed was that there was a slim shadow at the door, holding up a phone and taking a picture of them eating. Silently, after staying in the hospital for 2 days, Su Qianxi was discharged. For the convenience of taking care of her, Captain Li asked Su Qianxi to live in the old house. In less than 2 days, the elders of the Li family came one after another. All of them came to take a look and brought all kinds of gifts, which piled up into a small mountain. At the same time, she also heard all kinds of condolences. But at the same time, she also felt the coldness of the world. In her previous lifetime, when she had a miscarriage, no one cared at all. There were even a lot of people on Tang Menjing's side, scolding her with sarcasm and contempt. Now, it was still the same group of people, but their faces had changed a lot. For half a month, Su Qianxi had been staying in the old house, occasionally talking to Mrs. Li, playing cards, and sometimes playing chess with Grandpa. However, in this half a month, Li Xiqing did not show up even once. When Grandpa called to question him, he said, busy with work. Such a perfect excuse, Grandpa could not refute, only warning him to come back to see Su Qianxi more often. Su Qianxi felt a bit regretful. The hope that had been revived a few days ago gradually brightened. After the pregnancy, Su Qianxi asked to move back to the house in the city. However, after returning to the house, Li Xiqing was still nowhere to be seen, which made Su Qianxi feel a bit frustrated. It started again, exactly the same as in her previous lifetime. Busy. He always had work to do. However, this was Li Xiqing, wasn't it? She thought too much and thought too highly of herself. He rested at home for 2 more days, and on the 3rd day, he received a call from Lin Wanting. He glanced at the date. August 8th, the day of the class reunion. Hello? Qianxi? Yes. Great, I got in touch with you. I heard that you haven't been feeling well recently. Are you feeling better now? TSK, how hypocritical. Lin Wanting was famous for being narrow-minded. Last time, she and Yu Lily made her look like that. How could Lin Wanting talk to her like that? If it was the old Su Qianxi, she would have believed it, but now, yes. There's a class reunion tonight. Where are you? Why don't you come out and have some tea with us? If you have something to say, just say it. On the other side of the phone, Lin Wanting gritted her teeth in anger. How dare Su Qianxi talk to her like that? But he had to endure it. Chapter 95. 1 million? How dare she? Su Qianxi sneered over the phone, are you crazy for money? Even if she had that much money, she would not give it to her so easily. Lin Wanting had expected that. Hesitating, she said, I know you have changed your mind about me because of you, Lily, but I still want to tell you that I am still the old Lynn Wanting. I really cherish you as a friend. Why don't we go back to the way we used to be? Like before? Being played around like a fool? Su Qianxi chuckled and shook her head, not saying anything. I saw through Lu Ainan's plan. She wanted to set you up with her cousin tonight. Oh, and then? Su Qianxi did not show much emotion and replied. Hearing such a casual answer, Lin Wanting was even more unwilling. She asked, I know their whole plan. I sneaked into Lu Ainan's room and saw it, along with the pictures. Is it not worth 1 million for this information? Of course, it was worth it. If Su Qianxi had known what their plan was, she would have given her 10 million for the information, not to mention 1 million. But now, she was someone who had been reborn. She already knew what would happen tonight. There was no need for her to spend this money. The most important thing is that she does not want to give Lin Wanting any benefits. Su Qianxi, believe me. You will definitely be glad that you knew about such a terrible plan in advance, while you still have a chance to turn back. But I do not believe you. Lin Wanting was dazed. Su Qianxi, why should I believe you? You are such good friends with Lu Ainan. Who knows if you are working with her to trick me? It turned out that she was. In her previous lifetime, she had been ruined by Lin Wanting and Lu Ainan. In this lifetime, how could she trust Su Qianxi again? Hearing that, Lin Wanting panicked. Really? If you don't believe me, you will regret it. Okay. Su Qianxi arched an eyebrow and did not say anything else, hanging up. Since the incident at the martial arts school, Kingstown No. 1 Martial Arts School had been closed for drug possession and illegal transactions. Now it was summer vacation, and she had nowhere to go. She turned on the TV and began to watch. As he watched, he saw the International Art Channel. On the TV, a man who looked to be in his 30s or 40s was sitting in front of a piano, engrossed in playing. His exquisite eyebrows looked tranquil and enigmatic. Song Yifan. The only Chinese member of the International Piano Association. He was also one of her few idols. It was said that after Song Yifan's girlfriend died young, he never married. In her previous lifetime, she had the honor of hearing him play live and fell in love with the art of piano. 5 years had passed since he started studying. Seeing Song Yifan again, she felt her hands itch. In fact, Li Xiqing had a piano, which was always placed in the backyard of the villa. He would play it when he was in a good mood, but most of the time, it was idle. Walking to the backyard, Su Qianxi immediately saw a canopy made of wisteria. Underneath it was a white grand piano, placed elegantly. Li Xiqing looked down through the floor-to-ceiling window of the study and saw a white figure slowly walking toward the piano under the dense vines. The morning sun shone on the figure, as if the small figure was coated with a layer of gold. Ethereal and soft. Chapter 96. The slender and petite white figure was like a fairy among the flowers, naturally blending into the scene, as if it was made by nature. A trace of gentleness appeared in his cold, cheetah-like eyes when he saw such a picturesque scene. For a moment, he couldn't move his eyes away. Beautiful. He had never realized that this woman standing in front of the piano was so perfect. She was like a natural pianist, so harmonious. This woman really didn't know how to give him new surprises at all times. She did not realize that her movements had been seen. Walking to the piano chair, she sat down and carefully opened the dustless piano cover. The bright black and white keys shone with a dazzling and enchanting brilliance. So beautiful. This grand piano was bought by Li Xiqing at a high price from an auction. It was said to be the last piece of work of a retired master. It was very valuable and valuable. In her previous lifetime, she had always coveted this piano and wanted to touch it. However, she was afraid that Li Xiqing would hate her more and scold her. After all, even when Tang Menjing wanted to touch it, he stopped her and pulled her hand back. Not to mention her. However, Li Xiqing was at work now, wasn't he? He was not there, was he? She just secretly gave it a try. His long fingers fell on the keys, and the crisp music jumped out, making Su Qianxi feel like her whole body was melting. Great sound quality. It was better than all the pianos she had played in her 2 lifetimes combined. Li Xiqing was so wasteful to leave such a good piano here to feed the dust. Feeling sorry, her long fingers moved involuntarily. Wherever her fingers touched, the beautiful notes sounded. It was Beethoven's famous song, Die Welt, that everyone was familiar with, Die Welt. When Li Xiqing walked over, he heard the familiar music. The main theme was Die Welt, but the music began to change. Gradually, the music became heavier. Li Xiqing thought she had played the wrong note, and his face darkened. He was a bit annoyed. Such a good piano was ruined like this? Just as he was about to step forward, he realized that he had made a huge mistake before he could even reach her back. The music gradually became sorrowful and mellow, carrying traces of sorrow, resentment, sorrow, and pain. Hearing the music, Li Xiqing couldn't help but stop and listen to the art from his wife. Su Qianxi did not notice that someone was behind her. Staring at the keys, she skillfully played the song she had written for herself. Back then, she was framed by Tang Menjing to have a miscarriage and then disfigured. However, Captain Li always believed in her and insisted that she should not divorce Li Xiqing. However, everyone in the Li family was looking at her with disdain. No one believed her. Desperate and sad, she composed a song and named it Elegy. However, apart from Captain Li, no one had ever heard of it. No one had ever understood it. Although Su Qianxi's eyes were fixed on the keys, her mind had drifted away. But the song was so skillful that there was not a single wrong step. This was her own song, Sad, Sad Su Qianxi. It was so fitting, wasn't it? Listening to the music, Li Xiqing's calm eyes gradually became deeper and colder. A strange song, he had never heard of it. Sorrow, despair, and a deep sense of longing. What did the composer experience to be able to write such a sorrowful song? For some reason, Li Xiqing did not go forward but stood quietly behind her. Under the layers of lush wisteria, next to the beautiful white piano. Chapter 97. The crisp ringtone of the cell phone pulled Su Qianxi back from her own world. Suddenly, she found that she did not know when she started to cry. The ringtone continued. Su Qianxi turned her head and was caught off guard by a pair of dark eyes. It was still cold, but at this moment, there was something inexplicable. He seemed to be thinking and interested. His black eyes were sparkling, dazzling Su Qianxi's eyes and making her heart beat faster. Panicking, he averted his gaze and looked down. The sunlight shone on that tall and straight figure, drawing out a long shadow. That shadow just happened to cover her body, completely covering her slightly slender body. However, when did he come? She did not notice it at all. Li Xiqing moved his eyes away from her face and looked at her hands that were still on the piano keys. His eyes were unreadable. Su Qianxi quickly stood up, wiped the tears on her face, and took a step forward. I thought you were not here, so I came to try it secretly. However, when the words were on the tip of her tongue, she immediately swallowed them back. Her slim fingers stirred the white dress on her body nervously. Her heart was pounding, and she looked down nervously. When did you learn to play the piano? Li Xiqing finally spoke, his voice low. This was the first time he had talked to her since she was discharged from the hospital. Her heart beating even faster, she timidly looked up at his face. Calm and indifferent. There was not much change in his expression. Even his eyes were still as deep as before. She could not see through him. She really could not. This man was too deep, too deep. That song. Su Qianxi was still thinking about how to explain that she could play the piano and did not realize that he suddenly changed the topic. She was a bit confused. He looked at her face, turned off the phone, and then sat down on the piano chair. Not bad. Dazed, her face quickly became red. Su Qianxi felt that she was almost flying. He praised her. He actually praised her. He did not seem to notice her blush. His eyes fell on the black and white keys in front of him, and his slender fingertips fell and danced. The melodious notes rang, and the familiar melody made Su Qianxi dazed. He actually bounced out? She had only played it once, but this man could actually listen to it and play it again? Isn't this a little too heaven-defying? Fortunately, it was only a short while before he stopped and turned his head to look at her. Name? A sorrowful farewell. Sadness means sorrow, farewell means farewell. I thought it was Su Qianxi's. Hearing that, her heart raced. When she was about to speak, his phone rang again. From Su Qianxi's angle, she happened to catch a glimpse of those three familiar words. Tang Menjiang. Her heart, which had been racing wildly, gradually slowed down. Her fingers tightened around her dress. Yes, Tang Menjiang. There was always Tang Menjiang between them. Chapter 98. Li Xiqing quickly hung up. Turning around, he saw Su Qianxi's completely different expression, and his eyes darkened. Sir, madam, breakfast is ready, Nanny Rong called from afar. Li Xiqing turned around and said, I will not be back for dinner tonight. Nanny Rong blinked and realized that he might be talking to her, so she quickly nodded. However, this was the first time that Li Xiqing had told her that he would not be coming back for dinner. It should not be for her to hear, but for madam to hear, right? Seeing Li Xiqing's face, Nanny Rong was even more certain. However, Su Qianxi did not know that. She was about to leave the backyard, thinking about what was going to happen that night. Tang Menjiang was Li Xiqing's secretary. She had taken him to the royal hotel and arranged for Lu Ainan to humiliate and slander her, making her the target of everyone. However, in this lifetime, Lu Ainan had already said those words and even been sent to the police station. Therefore, it was very likely that they would change their plans at this party. Su Qianxi suddenly realized that it was not a good decision to turn down Lin Wanting. While she was thinking, Su Qianxi had already walked past Li Xiqing. What she did not notice was that the moment she walked past him, the temperature around the man suddenly dropped. This woman was getting bolder and bolder. She dared to ignore him? Could it be that she couldn't tell that he was talking to her? Even Nanny Rong could see that. However, she did not care at all and did not even respond. Su Qianxi. Li Xiqing could not stand it anymore and called out. Su Qianxi looked back, confused. What? Seeing her pretty and confused face, Li Xiqing was even more furious. Did she not know what she had done wrong? Doesn't she know what an unforgivable crime she has committed? How dare she ignore him? Ignoring him? What? What's wrong? Li Xiqing was furious. Giving her a deep look, he walked away. Su Qianxi was even more confused. What's wrong? This man is so baffling. Back in the living room, Su Qianxi took out her cell phone and called Lin Wanting back. However, it was not in the service area. If they fought again, the result would be the same. It was obvious that this fellow had blacklisted her. Su Qianxi suddenly felt stupid. How could she not think of this? Lu Ainan and Tang Menjiang would definitely have new tricks up their sleeves. What should she do then? Royal Hotel, 7 p.m. In the banquet hall on the top floor, the exquisite glass lamps refracted a mesmerizing light, sprinkling on the exquisite dishes and the people coming and going. Many men and women had already arrived at the scene, laughing and chatting with each other. Fu Lunbing was chatting with a high school classmate that he hadn't seen for a long time. Suddenly, he caught a glimpse of a beautiful blue figure from the corner of his eye, and his eyes immediately lit up. At the door, Lu Ainan was standing proudly. Lu Ainan was enjoying the attention from the people around her. She walked inside elegantly. So beautiful. Is this Lu Ainan? Women really change 18 times between womanhood and womanhood. You're really different from before. Who said it wasn't? This outfit would cost at least a few $100,000. Chapter 99. Hey, who is the one behind her? Why does she look like an auntie? Huh, how can you be so mean? Even if it is the truth, don't say it out loud. Everyone's eyes fell on the person behind Lu Anan. Her short hair was fixed into a handsome hairstyle with a little gel. However, the big round face looked tender and tender, which did not match the hairstyle at all. What she was wearing was obviously something special. The black dress was dotted with diamonds, and the top was a delicate lace tube top. However, her skin was not fair, so the black dress made her look like a nouveau riche from the countryside. Rustic. Rustic. Very rustic. Everyone sneered and looked at the woman with eyes full of contempt and sympathy. Isn't that Lin Wanting? I remember she used to be pretty, but now she has changed so much. Ha ha ha. Isn't that right? A girl changes 18 times between womanhood and womanhood. We can't even recognize her. They are both women, but Lu Anan is getting more and more elegant and beautiful. How come Lin Wanting? All kinds of discussions were heard by the two people at the door. Lin Wanting was so angry that her eyes were red. She pinched her hands tightly. She wanted to pinch the dress, but the dress was too expensive. If she broke it, she would not be able to sell it for much money. Lu Anan smiled brightly, turned around and looked at Lin Wanting. Wanting, what are you waiting for? Let's go in together. The so-called reunion was just a small club for people to compare themselves with each other. The purpose of the reunion was to see who was worse off than them and who was uglier than them, so they could gain a sense of achievement and satisfaction. Lu Anan naturally captured everyone's attention. The light blue dress she was wearing made her look even more beautiful. Fu Linbing combed his hair, picked up a glass of champagne, and walked toward Lu Anan. However, before he got close, a few boys who used to know him beat him to it. Anan, it has been a while. Yes, you are getting prettier. Upon seeing them, Fu Linbing, who was about to step forward, stopped in his tracks. He was furious. Such a beautiful woman, and he actually broke up with her because of that trivial matter. The losses outweighed the gains. Just as he was feeling vexed, he suddenly heard exclamations from his surroundings. Fu Linbing looked at the door, and there was an obvious surprise in his eyes. The fiery red off-shoulder gown perfectly accentuated her snow-white skin. Her long wavy curls were draped over her shoulders, and she had a slight smile on her exquisite face. Feeling the breathtaking expression on her face, she smiled in satisfaction and spoke first. Long time no see. Do you still remember me? I remember. One of the boys standing in front of Lu Anan shouted, but he soon attracted everyone's attention. He blushed in embarrassment and lowered his head. Fu Linbing was disappointed that he could not get to Lu Anan's side, but now he felt much better. Holding his glass, he walked over to Yu Lily. Lu Anan was infuriated by what she saw. She had wanted to piss Fu Linbing off so that he would ask to reconcile with her, but Yu Lily had appeared out of nowhere. She was so hateful. Chapter 100. Holding a glass of champagne, Fu Linbing walked to Yu Lily and said with a smile that he thought was charming, "Yu Lily, right?" Yu Lily saw Fu Linbing's flirtatious face, raised her eyebrows and looked at Lu Anan provocatively. Next to Lu Anan, a male classmate handed her a piece of cake. Lu Anan accidentally turned her head and bumped into the cake. She immediately became angry. What are you doing? Are you blind? The smile on the man's face froze and he quickly took out a handkerchief to wipe the cake for her. Hey, why are you acting like a shrew? Yu Lily took the glass from Fu Linbing's hand and said sarcastically. Fu Linbing saw that and shook his head. She has always been like this. I heard that you used to have a relationship with her. Is it really okay to say that? That was in the past. Now there is a prettier girl in front of me. Which one do you think I should choose? Fu Linbing had a captivating smile on his face. One had to admit that his pretty face was quite attractive. Seeing Fu Linbing's handsome smile, Lu Anan was even more furious and clenched her fists. Damn you, you Lily. She is a real vixen. Lu Anan dared to steal her man? She must be tired of living. Squeezing the crystal goblet in her hand, Lu Anan caught a glimpse of a slim but tall figure. The man was wearing a navy blue suit, neat and elegant. It turned out to be a handmade Italian suit. Lu Anan was stunned. Further up, there was a clean and handsome face, wearing a pair of rimless glasses. He was talking to a male classmate with a few female classmates around him, looking at him with admiration. This is Louis Han. Since when did he have such a good life? Lu Anan looked at Yu Lily and suddenly remembered the bad relationship between them when they were in high school. Since you stole my man, I will steal your man too. With the sweetest and most charming smile on her face, Lu Anan walked toward Louis Han, twisting her waist, slim and seductive. Many men stared at her, and Louis Han's attention was also attracted by her. Han, long time no see. Seeing her, Louis Han kept his smile on his face. Really? I see you on Weibo every day. Now that you are an internet celebrity, why don't you give me an autograph? Hearing that, Lu Anan's face changed and she could no longer keep her smile. It was no secret that she was being scammed on Weibo. Almost all of her classmates knew about it. Many men even took the initiative to strike up a conversation with her just to ask her out. But he was the first one to say it out loud like this. Louis Han saw that her face was not right, blinked, and said with a concern, "Are you not feeling well? Why do you look so pale?" That's right. If you don't feel well, you should go to the hospital as soon as possible. A female classmate said. Could it be that he didn't get a clean abortion and left a sequela? Ha ha ha, the mocking voice spread out, and everyone looked at her with different expressions. Lu Anan could not stand it anymore. Trembling with anger, she was about to lose her temper. Suddenly, there were exclamations around her. The mocking voice stopped abruptly. Louis Han's smiling eyes looked at the door of the banquet hall. Yu Lily, who had been paying attention to him, clearly saw the shock in his eyes. This nerd, she had never seen him so interested in anything. Yu Lily followed his gaze, and her heart was suddenly choked by something. Chapter 101. At the place where everyone's eyes were focused, a noble figure in navy blue came into Yu Lily's sight. A wisp of light muslin straps hung diagonally over her dark blue bodice. From top to bottom, the color gradually faded, and by the end of the skirt, it had already turned into a moon-white color. The skirt was layered with light muslin, and the waist was adorned with a playful wrinkle design, outlining the slender waistline. The perfect curve, when it reached the calves, it blossomed into a luxurious fishtail skirt. There was a golden chain around the waist. The pure gemstone was shining under the light of the crystal lamp. Elegant. Around his neck was a rare sapphire pigeon egg. It was inlaid with a group of diamonds, giving off an air of nobility. On her wrist was the latest colorful bracelet of a luxury brand, which was expensive and youthful. Stunning. Her face was white and clean, with only light makeup as embellishments. Her eyebrows and eyes were like a painting, and her long, straight hair was tied up with a navy blue hairpin. It was simple, yet elegant, noble, and full of youthful vigor. Even though she was a woman, she could not help but be dazzled. She was really beautiful. Perhaps her facial features were not the most delicate, but her unique elegance was especially eye-catching. After a few seconds, there was a sudden exclamation. Who is this? She looks so familiar. Is she our classmate? No way. Is there a girl like her among our classmates? Damn, what brand is she wearing? I could not tell. Of course, no one could tell. She was wearing the latest evening dress designed by an international designer in Milan and the most Tiffany-style jewelry. Everything Su Qianxi was wearing right now was what Lu Anan had been dreaming of. Why did AB*TCH like Su Qianxi have all this treatment and clothes? This world was really too unfair. There was jealousy in Lu Anan's eyes. Suddenly, she caught a glimpse of the man not far away and suddenly moved. It was Louis Han. Why are you so late? I thought you were not coming. Louis Han's voice was a bit teasing and reproachful as he strode toward Su Qianxi. Lu Anan was dazed. The man who had just ignored his female classmates was walking toward Su Qianxi. Not only Lu Anan, the other girls who had failed to hit on Louis Han were also shocked. They were surprised that Louis Han would approach Louis Han. Yu Lily, who was standing far away, clenched her fists and poured the wine down her throat. Louis Han looked at Su Qianxi from a distance, not hiding the amazement in his eyes and face. He stopped about 2 or 3 steps away from her, as if he did not dare to approach. Wow! She's too beautiful. I didn't expect to be blinded by her beauty. Is she even a woman? She's a goddess. Su Qianxi was amused. However, such a smile made the boys around her itch even more. It was as if it had come from the hands of a top illustrator. It was so beautiful and elegant that it was unbelievable. Is that Su Qianxi? Someone suddenly asked. Hearing this, the person who had been thinking hard suddenly realized and couldn't help but curse. Oh my god, this is Su Qianxi? This is too big of a change. Chapter 102. Her words attracted a lot of attention. Hearing that, Su Qianxi quietly curled her lips and said as she walked forward, your face really needs a good hospital to remodel it. Yu Lily suddenly spat out the wine she had just drunk and burst into laughter. Yu Lily's laughter made the people around her laugh as well. Lu Anan's expression changed. No matter how stupid she was, she knew that Su Qianxi was calling her ugly. Gritting her teeth, she roared, Su Qianxi. Yes? Su Qianxi's eyes fell on her. What's the matter? Lu Anan was roaring. However, seeing how calm Su Qianxi was, she felt like she had punched into cotton. She had nowhere to vent her anger. Everyone was staring at her, and Lu Anan suddenly felt she could not back down. When she was thinking about how to yell at Su Qianxi turned her head as if she had seen something strange. Looking at Louis Han, she asked, is it a costume party today? Louis Han was puzzled. No. Oh. I thought they were pretending to be Snow White and the Poison Queen. It turns out that I misunderstood. Hearing that, everyone looked at Lu Anan and Lin Wanting. One in black and one in blue. Weren't they Snow White and the Poison Queen? Especially the Poison Queen, she could not have looked any better. Lin Wanting almost went crazy. She felt the eyes of the people around her, as if everyone was looking at her with a strong sense of irony. Everyone seemed to be saying that she was ugly, ugly, and ugly. The more she thought about it, the more aggrieved she felt. Tears fell from Lin Wanting's eyes. Su Qianxi, why are you doing this to me? I did not do anything. Su Qianxi heard that and looked confused. What did I do to you? Lin Wanting stopped crying for a moment and immediately roared in grief. I treat you as a good friend, but you colluded with Yu Lily to trick me into buying such expensive clothes and cutting my hair. Don't you think it's too much? When Yu Lily heard that, she wasn't happy. Hey, do you have any shame? You borrowed money from Qianqian to buy these clothes and shoes. If I didn't vouch for you, do you think a poor B*TCH like you would be able to borrow so much money? Ah. A girl said with a look of surprise, I thought she was rich. This must cost at least a few $100,000, and it's the same model as my mother's. I didn't dare to say it just now, but I didn't expect that she had borrowed money to buy it. Puhaha. It can't be, right? The same style as your mother? How can it be fake? But to be able to borrow so much money to buy a piece of clothing, he is really bold. Lin Wanting's face suddenly turned pale. She never thought that Yu Lily would expose her in front of so many people. That's right. The IOU is still here. Don't forget to pay me back. Yu Lily took out an IOU from her purse, shook it, and then gave it to Su Qianxi. Here, you forgot to take it last time. Seeing the IOU she had written, Lin Wanting became even paler and cried even harder. You Lily, Su Qianxi, what did I do to offend you? Why are you humiliating me like this? Chapter 103. It's not your fault for being brainless, but it's your fault for showing off. You Lily smiled brightly. Classmate Lin, you haven't topped up your IQ, have you? As soon as he finished speaking, the surrounding crowd burst into laughter. Lin Wanting cried even harder, and tears fell down her cheeks. You guys are too much, Lu Anan finally said, but she was not that angry. Fortunately, Su Qianxi was talking about Snow White, who was at least a positive character, right? All right. Let's not talk too much. On the stage, Fu Lingbing held the microphone and stood straight. Thank you all for coming to the party I organized. Su Qianxi and Louis Han found a place to sit down, and Yu Lily quickly joined them. The three of them sat on the side, grabbed some drinks, and chatted happily. Lu Anan glanced at Su Qianxi and Yu Lily with jealousy and pulled Lin Wanting to a secret corner. Do you remember our plan? Things are starting to change. I will go talk to them later, and you take the chance to put the medicine in Su Qianxi and Louis Han's cup. Yu Lily likes Louis Han and is Su Qianxi's best friend. Then let her best friend sleep with the man she likes. Lu Anan's eyes sparkled. Of course, she did not come up with this plan alone. Someone else was behind it. However, this was indeed the best idea she had ever heard. For one thing, we can get revenge on Yu Lily, and for another, we can ruin Su Qianxi's position in the Li family. After whispering to Su Qianxi, Lin Wanting's face became gloomy. She looked up and asked, is that not a good idea? Lu Anan thought that Su Qianxi was being soft-hearted, stomped her foot, and cursed, they did this to you, made you a laughing stock, and made you owe a lot of money. Don't you want revenge? Lin Wanting heard that and sneered, I mean, isn't it too light? Lu Anan was dazed, not expecting that she would say that. What do you think? Do you see that guy? Lin Wanting pointed to a corner. Lu Anan looked over and immediately recognized that it was the ugliest and fattest guy in their class. Ding Haiba? Yes, that guy is not only fat, I heard that in the past few years, he has also played with many female celebrities and young models. I heard that he even played with a few to death, but they were all suppressed by his father. I've also heard of it. Don't tell me you want to. Let Su Qianxi be with this fat pig, and let Yu Lily be with Louis Han. No way, you want to help them? Don't you know that Yu Lily is a sugar daddy? Really? Her sugar daddy is Oh Ming. Think about it. If Oh Ming finds out that she slept with Louis Han, what will happen to them? Lu Anan was dazed for a second and then smiled. Then they will never be able to be human again. Oh Ming is very evil. Who knows what he will do to them? Then guess what will happen to Su Qianxi if she accuses a man like Li Xicheng? Definitely worse than Louis Han and Yu Lily. More importantly, Li Xicheng was in the hotel now. If he could come and catch them in person, that would be fun. Chapter 104. Ding Haiba was gorging himself in the corner, his eyes squinting as he looked around. At such a high school reunion, the girls would not only compare their wealth but also their bodies. At a glance, Ding Haiba's deep white cleavage was swaying back and forth. He was drooling as he ate. However, the more he looked at it, the more he felt that it was boring. He looked to the corner, where a group of boys and girls were chatting happily. Among them, the figure in navy blue was the most elegant. That was Su Qianxi. The campus belle in high school, even at this reunion, she was the most outstanding one. When Ding Haiba was lost in his thoughts, he suddenly smelled some cheap perfume, and a black figure stood in front of him. Seeing that Yu Lily and Su Qianxi were together, the students who were close to them in the past also gathered around. 7 or 8 people stood together and chatted enthusiastically. Su Qianxi had drunk a bit too much water. When she got up to go to the bathroom, she saw Lu Anan talking to a waiter and did not pay much attention. However, when she came out of the bathroom, she bumped into someone she knew. Lin Wanting was touching up her makeup in the mirror. Seeing Su Qianxi coming out, she immediately put away her makeup and looked at Su Qianxi aggressively. Su Qianxi turned a blind eye to it. After washing her hands, she was ready to leave. However, when she walked out the door, she suddenly felt something behind her. Although she was not happy at the martial arts club, she had not learned judo for nothing. Su Qianxi frowned and saw a hand reaching toward her. Su Qianxi dodged the hand and grabbed the wrist firmly. Pulling the woman forward, she pushed her forward. Lin Wanting did not expect Su Qianxi to react so quickly. She was caught off guard and let out a scream. Ding Haiba, who was at the door, heard this exclamation and was overjoyed. He pushed open the door according to what they had discussed earlier and opened his arms to embrace. Holding a warm body in his arms, Ding Haiba did not see who it was, but he felt very satisfied. The first thing he did was to touch the chest of the girl in his arms and rub it hard. It was very elastic, and he felt very good. When he was about to go further, he suddenly saw Su Qianxi standing at the door of the women's restroom, looking shocked. This person is still standing, then who is this person? Ding Haiba looked down and saw Lin Wanting's weird posture and expression. Ah! Lin Wanting screamed and pushed Ding Haiba away. When Ding Haiba saw that it was her, he felt a little disgusted. What you? Don't you have eyes? Just fall down. As he said that, he smacked his lips and looked at his palm, reminiscing about the soft touch. Lin Wanting was ashamed and resentful. She turned around and yelled, Su Qianxi. Su Qianxi had some sympathy in her eyes. Glancing at Ding Haiba with a faint smile, she said, "Good luck with women." Ding Haiba was even more stunned by her expression. His heart felt like it was being scratched by a kitten. It was terribly itchy. Staring at Su Qianxi's back, he rubbed his hands. Lin Wanting gritted her teeth. When she was about to chase after Su Qianxi, she saw Su Qianxi take a cocktail from a waiter. That was the one who had just talked to Lu Anan. Seeing this, Lin Wanting calmed down and sneered inwardly. Chapter 105. When Su Qianxi was about to go back to her seat with her glass, she saw Lu Anan walking toward her. Lu Anan glanced at the glass in Su Qianxi's hand, raised her glass, and said to Su Qianxi, "I was too extreme a while ago. I am sorry. Su Qianxi, let's forget about the past and make up, shall we?" Then she raised her glass to Su Qianxi. Glancing at Lu Anan, Su Qianxi did not want to clink glasses with her at all. Holding the crystal glass with her long fingers, Su Qianxi half smiled. Make up? Since a long time ago, Lu Anan had been treating Su Qianxi like a fool. In her previous lifetime, Su Qianxi might have been fooled by Lu Anan's bullsh *t, but now, do we have a good time? Lu Anan did not expect Su Qianxi to say that. Holding the glass tightly, she forced a smile and said, "Of course. We are good friends, aren't we?" "Oh, really?" Su Qianxi curled her lips. "I forgot." Then she was about to walk around Lu Anan. Looking at the glass of wine in Su Qianxi's hand, Lu Anan was anxious. She had seen Su Qianxi take the glass with her own eyes, but Su Qianxi did not take a sip. Had Su Qianxi seen through her? Lu Anan felt a bit uneasy, feeling that Su Qianxi was more and more mysterious. She would only have such a strong feeling when she was with Li Xicheng. Was Su Qianxi influenced by her company? No matter what, she had to make Su Qianxi drink the wine today. Lu Anan. Lin Wanting stopped her. Lu Anan turned around, and Lin Wanting had already walked over. In a low voice that only they could hear, Lin Wanting said, "I have already fed Ding Haiba the drug and tricked him into getting a room. We only need to take Su Qianxi there. With the drug, she will not be able to escape. Next, it is up to you." Lu Anan smiled with satisfaction and looked at Lin Wanting with admiration. I did not expect you to have some tricks up your sleeve. The next part is going to be interesting. Although it was important to take care of Ding Haiba, it was not enough to ruin Su Qianxi. But if they could be caught in bed while they were doing it, then it would be a different story. Seeing them whispering to each other, Su Qianxi knew they must be up to no good. But what exactly did they want to do? Things had deviated from the track of her previous lifetime. She had no idea what would happen next. Secretly on guard, Su Qianxi took a sip of the champagne glass in her hand and thought about something. The moment Lu Anan turned around, she saw her drink the wine. Although it was only a sip, it was enough to make Lu Anan jump for joy. He drank it all. Su Qianxi had been paying attention to them. After seeing Lu Anan's expression, she had a bad feeling. Sensing Su Qianxi's strange gaze, Lu Anan was a bit surprised. Did Su Qianxi sense something? Feeling a bit guilty, Lu Anan walked over and said, Su Qianxi, although you do not want to admit it, I really see you as a good friend. Here's to you as an apology. After that, he drank the wine in his hand. Seeing that Su Qianxi did not move, he urged, Qianxi, for my sake, we used to be friends. Let's have a toast, shall we? Su Qianxi asked. Chapter 106. As soon as Li Xiqing finished his business, he received a message on his cell phone. It was an MMS. It was an unfamiliar number, but the picture of the MMS looked somewhat familiar. Li Xiqing swiped on the screen, clicked on it, and downloaded it. He immediately saw a familiar figure. Wearing a navy dress, Su Qianxi looked elegant and charming. She was blushing. Standing in front of her was a handsome young man wearing a pair of rimless glasses. They looked at each other and smiled, seeming to be talking about something. Their background was a hallway. Judging from the decoration and style, it should be the royal hotel where he was now. Then, another message came in. This time, it was a room number plate. F1805. It would not be a problem to see either of the two messages alone. However, they came in together and saw them together, which was very meaningful. Li Xiqing's pupils contracted, and his heart sank. An uncontrollable anger suddenly rose up in him. Tang Menjing had known Li Xiqing for more than a decade and could immediately tell that he was not in a good mood. Han Sen was overjoyed. He knew that Lu Anan's plan must have started. Glancing at his cell phone, Tang Menjing quietly put away the documents and said casually, I heard that Su Qianxi's classmates are having a reunion today, and it is also being held in this hotel. It should not be over yet. Shall we go and have a look? How do you know? Li Xiqing's voice was so cold that it almost froze. Looking at Tang Menjing, his eyes almost peeled off a layer of her skin. Her heart racing, Tang Menjing explained, my cousin. She is her classmate, right? Therefore, it was not strange that she knew Su Qianxi was here. Li Xiqing seemed to accept this explanation. He stood up and walked toward the door, as fast as the wind. Tang Menjing let out a sigh of relief and picked up her cell phone. She saw the message from Lu Anan 20 minutes ago, everything is ready. Please be ready. Curling her lips, Tang Menjing deleted the message and trotted to Li Xiqing with the documents. Seeing Su Qianxi finish the wine, Lu Anan smiled gratefully. Su Qianxi, I know we are good friends. You will miss me too, right? Su Qianxi looked at the smile on her face and felt even more strange. She took a step back and said, I'm just thirsty. Don't think too much. After saying that, he turned around and prepared to walk back into the crowd. Being ignored like that, Lu Anan was not annoyed at all. Instead, she smiled proudly. Soon, you will be finished. Clearly feeling the eyes of Lu Anan and Lin wanting, Su Qianxi's heart skipped a beat. What were they expecting? Under their gaze, Su Qianxi suddenly changed her path and deliberately walked to the door of the banquet hall. The door of the banquet hall was of a heavy European design. Its surface was smooth and clearly reflected everything behind it. Su Qianxi immediately saw Lin wanting following her and sneered inwardly. Pretending to be drunk, she stumbled and grabbed the chair next to her. Lin Wanting saw Su Qianxi from a distance and was overjoyed. She came up and held Su Qianxi, looking concerned. Su Qianxi, are you okay? Don't tell me he's drunk. Su Qianxi pretended to wave her hand, but Lin Wanting dragged her up. Let me take you to rest. You will be fine after lying down. Something was wrong. Su Qianxi hesitated and let Lin Wanting drag her up to the 18th floor. The number was F1805. Lin Wanting heard a faint sound coming from inside. She casually took out a key card from her bag and placed it on the doorknob. Beep. Chapter 107. As soon as the door was opened, the sound inside suddenly stopped, as if it had never been there. Lin Wanting's expression did not change, and she said with concern, "Have a good rest." Then she pulled Su Qianxi into the room. Su Qianxi's eyes turned cold, and her heart sank. Suddenly, she heard breathing inside. The sound was very light, but it made Su Qianxi feel more threatened. No, there was definitely something wrong inside. Using her back to resist Lin Wanting's strength, Su Qianxi stepped back and broke Lin Wanting's hand. Lin Wanting yelped in pain and was dragged into the room by Su Qianxi. Ha! Ouch! It was dark in the room, but Su Qianxi could hear the heavy breathing. With the light in the hallway, Su Qianxi clearly saw Ding Haiba's fat face. His muscles were shaking in pain, and his eyes were terrifyingly red. Her heart skipping a beat, Su Qianxi took a step back. Lin Wanting, who was in the room, had no time to escape. Her expression changed dramatically, and she screamed, "No, go away." However, she was dragged into the room by Ding Haiba. No. Struggling, Lin Wanting looked up at Su Qianxi for help. Help me, Su Qianxi, help me. Give it to me, give it to me. Ding Haiba gasped and his thick arms quickly tore Lin Wanting's clothes. Her expensive dress emitted a sound of being torn. Seeing this, Su Qianxi was shocked. She had never thought that she would see such a scene. As an adult, she certainly knew what his reaction meant. However, the shock in her eyes soon turned into coldness. Su Qianxi quickly stepped in, grabbed the door handle, and closed the thick door. Qi Ju's scream immediately disappeared in the room. His desperate scream disappeared, but he was still in shock. Su Qianxi had never felt so lucky that she had learned judo for a while. Lin Wanting had almost ruined her life again. Help! Help! Through the door, she could still vaguely hear the screams and cries for help from inside. Every sound was like a heavy hammer, making her heart palpitate. If she had not reacted fast enough to push Lin Wanting back, she would have been the one being treated like this by Ding Haiba. Thinking of Lin Wanting's miserable scene, Su Qianxi could not help but feel disappointed and sad, but she did not have any sympathy for Lin Wanting. Sins committed by heaven can still be forgiven. The evils brought upon themselves were the hardest to bear. When Han Sen returned to the banquet hall, Lu Ainan was holding a cell phone with a smile on her face. However, when she looked up and saw Su Qianxi's elegant figure walking in, the smile on her face suddenly froze. At this moment, Su Qianxi's pace was neither fast nor slow, but every step was steady. Her face was cold, and her eyes were piercing. How could it be? How could it be? She clearly saw her drink the spiked wine with her own eyes, so how could she be so clear-headed? Shocked, Lu Ainan watched Su Qianxi walk over and could not help but feel nervous. Scared by Su Qianxi, Lu Ainan took a step back and exclaimed, "You." Su Qianxi looked down and saw that the message had been successfully sent, so she snatched the phone. Su Qianxi clicked on it and saw two pictures. Chapter 108. Slap. The crisp sound of a slap drew the attention of many people in the surroundings. Lu Ainan was caught off guard, but she soon reacted. Screaming, she was going to slap Su Qianxi's face back. However, Su Qianxi's reaction was faster. Blocking Lu Ainan's hand with her right hand, Su Qianxi slapped the other side of Lu Ainan's face with her left hand. The commotion here quickly attracted the attention of many people, and they quickly surrounded them. Ah! Su Qianxi! Lu Ainan was going crazy. No one had ever treated her like this before. The burning sensation on both sides of her face was very clear. Lu Ainan could even feel the swelling. With tears in her eyes, she lunged at Su Qianxi crazily. Su Qianxi's eyes turned cold and she quickly dodged to the side. Lu Ainan stumbled and almost fell. When she finally steadied herself, she was pushed from behind and fell flat on her face. Although the floor was soft and did not hurt her hands, Lu Ainan felt humiliated when she fell to the ground in such an ugly way. Hey, hey, hey! Fu Linbing quickly pulled Su Qianxi back and tried to calm her down. Let go of me. Being grabbed, Su Qianxi's cold eyes became even colder. Glancing at him, she growled, "Let go." Fu Linbing was stunned by the shout. He immediately raised his hand and made a gesture of surrender. Seeing that Su Qianxi was going to hit her again, Lu Ainan was scared and screamed, "Su Qianxi, what's wrong with me? Why are you doing this to me?" Su Qianxi smiled. "What's wrong?" As she spoke, she raised the phone she had just taken from Lu Ainan's hand and said angrily, "What do you mean by sending a picture like this to my husband?" Husband? She had a husband? Most of the students did not know about it and looked over curiously. Lu Ainan was scared, but she quickly got up and cried, "What are you talking about? I don't understand at all." Su Qianxi sent the two pictures to her high school group. For a moment, many people's cell phones rang. When Louis Han saw the photo, he was stunned. Sliding his finger to the side, he saw the ambiguous room number, and his face quickly became gloomy. F***CK, they can even post this kind of picture? It can't be. They just took a picture of them talking and sent a room number. Does that mean something's wrong? You can't say that. Who wouldn't think too much about such a picture? Besides, which man can stand it? Lu Ainan quickly waved her hand and tried to explain, "This phone is not mine. Lin Wanting asked me to keep it for her. It has nothing to do with me." Really? Then look at the time it was sent 5 minutes ago. Was Lin Wanting here? Maybe she set a time to frame me. Okay, then how did Lin Wanting get my husband's number? Su Qianxi's eyes were a bit sharp, and her tone was aggressive. Several classmates who used to be close to Su Qianxi were very surprised. Since when did Su Qianxi have such an aura? But, so handsome. Under Su Qianxi's aura, Lu Ainan felt indescribable pressure and couldn't help feeling guilty. When Li Xiqing walked into the banquet hall, he saw a crowd. He vaguely heard Su Qianxi's cold voice asking, "How did you get my husband's number?" Hearing this voice, Li Xiqing's cold and sharp eyes softened a bit. Husband? Chapter 109. Lu Ainan looked away and puffed out her chest. How do I know how she got it? Why don't you ask her instead? Su Qianxi, don't go too far. Do you really think you are all that? You even beat Ainan like this? A short-haired girl in a simple pink gown walked up to Lu Ainan, obviously siding with her. That's right. Lin Wanting was trying to frame you and put the blame on Ainan. A girl who was close to Lu Ainan came up and felt sorry for her. Lu Ainan had been beaten up and was already jealous. Seeing that someone was siding with her, she immediately burst into tears. It was them, in her previous lifetime, Lu Ainan and Lin Wanting worked together to frame Su Qianxi. When Su Qianxi was doomed, the two of them also played a big part. In this lifetime, they were still on Lu Ainan's side, like angels of justice. So, the girl who grew up in the orphanage is not only uneducated but also brainless? One of them said. The other person quickly laughed, his face full of mockery. Louis Han was furious. He stepped forward and stood next to Su Qianxi. Looking at the two women coldly, he said with an obvious warning, "Don't go too far." Oh, the guardian angel is here. Why didn't you say she went too far when she was beating people up? What a good dog. You really think we don't know? You have always treated Su Qianxi differently. Unfortunately, she has a rich background and does not like poor people like you at all. Speaking of which, a whore and a dog will last forever. You two are a perfect match. The two of them echoed each other and said very harsh words. However, Lu Ainan's face had obviously softened a lot, feeling very good. You are too much. Apologize. Lu Yihan burst into anger and lowered the pressure around him. Obviously, he was not the gentleman he had been talking about. In everyone's eyes, Lu Yihan had always been smiling and carefree. No one expected Lu Yihan to be like this when he was angry. Caught off guard, they were a bit scared. But when she thought of Lu Yihan's poor background, she became more courageous. Lu Ainan sneered, "Are they wrong? Apologize." Lu Yihan was furious. I never hit a woman. Don't force me to make an exception. Apologize to Qianqian. Why should we apologize? Did we say anything wrong? Su Qianxi is a whore. Bitch. Bitch. Lu Yihan became even more furious. However, just as he was about to lose his temper, a clear and low voice passed through the crowd and fell into everyone's ears. Who did the B*TCH say? Hearing this voice, Su Qianxi was shocked and looked in the direction of the voice incredulously. It's Li Xicheng. No one knew who spoke first, but when they heard those 3 words, many people turned their heads to look. As someone from Kingstown, you might not know who the new mayor was. However, there was no way you didn't know him. The crowd consciously parted to form a path, and everyone could clearly see a cold and aloof figure. Wearing a black suit, he looked cold and aloof. His almond-shaped eyes were filled with an indescribable coldness as they steadily landed on the female classmate who had just called her a whore. Chapter 110. Li Xicheng's tall figure walked into the crowd, like a noble god, out of place with everything around him. However, the moment he entered the hall, he attracted everyone's attention. His aura was cold. His pitch-black and deep cold eyes were like 2 icy blades that forcefully tore through the crowd and swept towards the woman that spoke rudely earlier. However, just when everyone thought that Li Xicheng would definitely do something, his cold and sharp eyes quickly moved away. He did not stay there for more than 2 seconds. It was as if it was just an accidental glance. Li Xicheng called, "Qingyu." There was a hint of coldness in his voice. After spending 3 years together, Qingyu already knew Li Xicheng like the back of her hand. There was no need for words or orders. Qingyu already knew what Li Xicheng meant. "Yes, sir," she answered quickly, turned around, and walked out of the banquet hall. Just then, everyone noticed that there were 2 women behind Li Xicheng. Cousin. Seeing Tang Menjing, Lu Ainan looked aggrieved, tears rolling down her cheeks. Tang Menjing frowned and did not pay attention to her. However, Lu Ainan walked up, covered her face, and said, "My face. Look, she hit my face like this." In her eyes, Tang Menjing was without a doubt a reliable backer. In addition, Tang Menjing and Li Xicheng had known each other for so many years. As long as Tang Menjing wanted something, Li Xicheng would help her. With tears in her eyes, Lu Ainan looked at Tang Menjing pitifully for help. Tang Menjing felt a bit impatient, but she still said softly, "Who is it?" "Su Qianxi." "Well." Tang Menjing seemed to be hesitating and quietly looked up at Li Xicheng. His delicate facial features looked holy and noble under the luxurious crystal lights of the ancient European design. However, his perpetual indifference sent a strong signal that no one should approach him. His expression was as calm as ever. Unable to see or guess, Li Xicheng did not seem to hear the noise behind him and strode to Su Qianxi. Seeing this scene, everyone's eyes were filled with deep shock. Li Xicheng was actually walking towards Su Qianxi. What did that mean? The gazes of the surrounding girls, which were originally filled with admiration, turned into astonishment in that instant. Then, it turned into intense envy, jealousy, and hatred. Facing the shocked eyes of the people around her, Su Qianxi could only see that man. His heartbeats suddenly became heavier. It was as if every step he took was stomping on her heart, shaking her like that. He actually came? Shouldn't he choose to watch from the sidelines? Li Xiqing looked down and saw her exposed shoulder. His eyebrows furrowed imperceptibly. He reached out and unbuttoned his suit. His slender fingers swayed like a beautiful painting. Su Qianxi's head buzzed. He took off his clothes in public? What was he trying to do? Su Qianxi seemed to see the wheat-colored skin, clear lines, and looming mermaid lines. Subconsciously, she took a step back, but he held her hand firmly in his. When she looked up, she was met with his deep, cold, and reserved gaze. The moment their eyes met, Su Qianxi felt that he had been caught red-handed. Her cheeks immediately blushed. When she was about to say something to explain, he took off his suit and put it on her. Chapter 111. It's time to go home, honey. Honey, 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 Su Qianxi's heart seemed to have been hit by something. Immediately, an indescribable feeling spread from the bottom of her heart. He was calling her. Su Qianxi was dazed, feeling like she was dreaming. However, the suit on his shoulder continued to emit the warmth that belonged solely to him. It was so real, however, as soon as Li Xiqing's voice fell, there were waves of exclamations around him. Damn, what the hell? Su Qianxi's husband is Li Xiqing? No way, why would she like that? Before the indignant words were finished, she immediately trailed off and looked over timidly. Mr. Li. The female classmate who had insulted Su Qianxi suddenly became anxious. I was just joking with my old classmate. I did not mean to insult Su Qianxi, Mr. Li. Seeing her reaction, Lu Yihan's heart was unspeakably depressed. Li Xiqing had not said or done anything, but those people were already looking at him like that, trying to please him. At this moment, Lu Yihan felt like he was a clown. Overestimating one's capabilities and extremely lamentable. Looking at Li Xiqing and Su Qianxi standing side by side, they looked so compatible and harmonious. Of course, with such a man around, Qianqian did not need his protection and help at all, right? However, he was not willing to give up. However, it seemed that Li Xiqing did not hear the woman's flattering voice. Carefully putting the suit on Su Qianxi's blouse, he whispered, "Let's go." Putting his rough hand on Su Qianxi's nervously curled-up body, he pulled her toward the door of the banquet hall. Su Qianxi followed him, looking at the amazed, envious, jealous, and incredulous eyes around her. She lowered her head, her heart pounding. It seemed that she had become the object of everyone's envy. However, what could she do? She felt like she had stolen all this, which was so unreal and unreliable. Subconsciously, Su Qianxi turned her head to look at the crowd. She saw Tang Menjing was still standing there, with Lu Anan standing next to her with swollen cheeks. Like everyone else, Lu Anan looked envious. Seeing her like this, Su Qianxi's heart, which had been uneasy, was very happy. Keeping up with his footsteps, she took his arm intimately and beamed like a blooming flower. Tang Menjing clenched her teeth so hard that they almost broke. Seeing Su Qianxi walking toward the door, Tang Menjing could no longer pretend. His heart was burning with rage, and an indescribable hatred was like a vine, climbing layer by layer. Based on what? Based on what? If it were not for Su Qianxi, Tang Menjing would be the one enjoying all this. Just as they were about to leave the banquet hall, the phone of the girl who had just insulted Su Qianxi rang. Hey, Dad. However, in less than 2 seconds, her face changed dramatically, and she screamed, "What? How could this be? Wasn't everything fine this morning? How could it go bankrupt just like that? Bankruptcy?" Such a sensitive word caused everyone to look at her. Chapter 112. When everyone heard this, they couldn't help but feel a chill in their hearts. One by one, they cast their gazes towards the two people. The woman's mind was blank. Suddenly, she chased after Su Qianxi like crazy, yelling, "Mr. Li, Mr. Li." However, before she got close, she was stopped by a woman. Qing Yu stood in front of her indifferently and said coldly, "It's useless." However, she would not give up. Pushing Qing Yu away, she chased after Su Qianxi. However, someone else was faster. Fu Linbing stopped her and pretended to comfort her. "Instead of thinking about how to apologize, why don't you think about how to save your family from the crisis? Am I right, Qing Yu?" Fu Linbing smiled seductively and looked at her, thinking that he was handsome. Qing Yu only glanced at him and nodded. She turned to Tang Menjing and said, "Miss Tang, please sort out the information as soon as possible. I need it before 10 p.m. Being ordered around in front of so many people, Tang Menjing felt a bit embarrassed. However, Qing Yu was her superior, so she could only nod. Qing Yu took a deep look at Tang Menjing, turned around, and walked away. Fu Linbing's eyes lit up and couldn't help praising, "Cool. Fu Linbing, let me go. That's too much." The woman cried and wanted to chase after her. However, in order to please Li Xicheng and the beauty, Fu Linbing would not let her go. After a while, Qing Yu's figure had disappeared. Tang Menjing did not look happy and gave Lu Ainan a hard stare. "Come here." Lu Ainan shivered and immediately followed Su Qianxi to a secluded corner. "Didn't I give you something? Why can't you do it properly?" Tang Menjing's voice was low, but her anger was obvious. Lu Ainan felt wronged. "I had already told the waiter to sell her the cocktail with extra ingredients, and I saw her drink it." "Why, cocktail?" Tang Menjing's face darkened. "Su Qianxi is allergic to cocktails and never drinks them. How can you not know?" Lu Ainan was dazed. "How come?" However, as she said that, she suddenly remembered something. Yes, what she added was a cocktail, and what Su Qianxi drank seemed to be champagne. However, she had been watching her all the time. Why did Su Qianxi have the time to change that glass of wine? Lu Ainan thought hard and suddenly remembered the time when Lin Wanting called her over for a talk. Less than a minute, but it was in that less than a minute that her eyes left Su Qianxi, right? "Idiot, you can't even do such a small thing. I even went through so much trouble to help you clear your name on Weibo. If I knew you were so useless, I would have done it myself." Lu Ainan's face became paler and paler. She quickly said, "Cousin, don't be mad. I still have something up my sleeve." "He's already gone. What other tricks do you have up your sleeve?" "Room. I asked Lin Wanting to use Su Qianxi's ID to open the room, so we can blame it on her." Tang Menjing gritted her teeth. "Idiot. Can't they check the surveillance? And, where is Lin Wanting?" Lu Ainan was dazed and then realized that Lin Wanting was long gone. Hearing her words, he naturally looked down and answered, "Looking for you." Su Qianxi's breath seemed to skip a beat as she stared at him blankly. "Looking for you." Chapter 114. Li Xicheng looked into her eyes and said calmly, "Let's go home." She nodded and looked at the black Maybach that had been waiting at the entrance of the hotel. Yang had already opened the door for them. Everything was so real. "Miss Su?" Su Qianxi heard a familiar voice, and she turned around. It was Xing Shiming. "I didn't expect to see you here." His voice was full of surprise. However, the moment Xing Shiming saw Li Xicheng, his smile faded a bit. He walked over and asked Su Qianxi, "Is this your husband?" Su Qianxi nodded and looked at Li Xicheng. In her previous lifetime, Li Xicheng would never allow her to introduce herself like this. But now, Li Xicheng frowned and reached out his hand to Xing Shiming. "Hello, I've heard a lot about you. Nice to meet you." Xing Shiming also held Li Xicheng's hand, but there was a hint of hostility in his eyes. Is your relationship okay? The first thing Li Xiqing thought of was the divorce contract lying on his bedside table. It was stamped by Xingshi law firm, and the lawyer who signed it was Xing Shiming. What did that mean? He was so old, and he was still lusting after a 20-year-old woman? Li Xiqing's eyes narrowed, and his expression softened a bit. Reaching out, he took her hand and announced, "Thank you for your concern. My relationship with my wife is completely fine. What do you think, honey?" Su Qianxi was caught off guard by that sensitive title again, and her heart skipped a beat. Seeing Li Xiqing's cold gaze and Xing Shiming's passionate one, she blushed and nodded. "Let's go home." Li Xiqing let go of Xing Shiming's hand in satisfaction and took Su Qianxi in his arms, whispering, "Make noodles for me when we get home." Su Qianxi's head buzzed and she immediately blushed. Make noodles for him? Oh, was she dirty? Why did she couldn't help but push him away. "What are you talking about? Let's go." Li Xiqing's eyes darkened. Looking at her seriously, he asked, "It's just a bowl of noodles. What are you thinking about?" Su Qianxi was speechless. Yang couldn't hold it in. Chuckling, Su Qianxi blushed even more. Looking up, she saw Xing Shiming's slightly complicated look and suddenly felt angry. She glared at him and pushed him away. "Go away. I don't want to talk to you anymore." As he spoke, he got into the car. Seeing her so embarrassed, Li Xiqing's lips, which had been tightly pursed, slightly curled. Xing Shiming had mixed feelings. He had thought that their relationship must be very bad. That was why she sent him a divorce contract just a few days after their marriage. But now, it seemed that it wasn't what he had imagined. "Your wife is so cute." "Thank you. I think so too." Li Xiqing's expression did not change. "I'll leave now. Mr. Sheng, please help yourself." After that, he turned around and got into the car. The black Maybach sped away, leaving Xing Shiming standing there with a complicated expression. He opened an old-fashioned pocket watch in his hand, and a picture suddenly appeared. Looking at the eyebrows, it was 70% similar to Su Qianxi. You're tuning in to the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.